Peace and love, and welcome to Black Diamond Worldwide Outreach. Today we are here celebrating the great Martin Luther King Jr. on his birthday weekend, and I know there are celebrations not only in America, but everywhere. And the one thing I want us to talk about today is having confidence in our ability, being confident in every ability. Because I'm telling you, there is nothing we cannot do. It is all about conditioning our mind to believe that we can forge forward into a great and wonderful new experience, into a great and wonderful life. But you have to believe and you have to be confident in your every ability. So come on, let's get those fists in the air and let's affirm as loud as we can. I have confidence in everything I do. I have confidence in everything I do and everything I can do in my future. So it's not only being confident in what you are doing right now, it's for the future. It's for any challenge, any situation, any experience, any outcome, any person, any relationship that comes into our life, any job or income generating experience that comes into our life. All of it must be confident in our ability to overcome, in our ability to do and be and have and succeed and fulfill and love, which is the greatest action of the universe. Friends, today I want you to remember to create and sustain a confidence within yourself that is unwavering. Regardless of the experience, regardless of the challenge, regardless of the education that you think you have or you don't have, regardless of the looks that you think that you have and you don't have. You know, a lot of people are talking about this phenomenon of what they call pretty power, right? And we see it in our lives where people that are, well, they say the model, right, has a perfectly symmetrical face, right? And so we see people with a perfectly symmetrical face, and people are more inclined, because they call those people pretty, beautiful, good looking, whatever, as opposed to my least favorite word in the English language, ugly. But because people have this perfectly symmetrical face, they're more approachable. People are more inclined to have a conversation with them. People are more inclined to give them more opportunities to help them reach their goals because of the way that they look. And for some parts of our culture, some parts of our society, that is true. But even if you have a face, as they used to say in the old days, well, they probably say it too now, a face that only a mother could love. I remember watching my favorite show, The Jeffersons, and George Jefferson said, he has a face only a zoologist could love. Now, that's pretty ugly, but you know what? That's the face of God. You are the face of God. Whether society says that you are beautiful, you are ugly, it is still the face of God. And it should have nothing to do with the confidence that you have in yourself. Because other people don't see the beauty doesn't mean that you can't see it or that you shouldn't see the beauty in your world. You are wonderful. You are beautiful. And because you are a creation of God, that makes you beautiful all over, inside and out. Remember, though, that you could very well be the exception to the rule. Yes, society works on pretty power, but you can be the exception to the rule. The God in you can be so strong that it doesn't matter what other people say or do about your looks, how you feel. You still have the confidence within you and confidence in your ability. So why not try? Why not just try to do what you want to do? I think about people with disabilities, whatever disability there is. There are two people that I follow. I can't remember their names, and I couldn't find them on Instagram in time for this message. But there's one guy that has no legs, but he's a runner. right? There's another guy that has Tourette's. And he walks you through his Tourette's, right? You know, he has sudden jerks, sudden movements, says things that he doesn't want to say at certain times, but he is working with it. Because the one thing that people with disabilities that I see with them, and you know, it's great that in America, especially, we have a Disabilities Act where people that have certain disabilities can get the help that they need, the money they need, the assistance that they need. But the one thing that is behind them right here and right now, the one force, the one affirmation that they use is the same thing that we're talking about today. They are confident in their every ability. Their disability is not an inability. How wonderful is that? Their disability is not an inability. They know that they have what it takes to cope. So, as we see and have this example from our handicapped and disabled brothers and sisters out there, we know that we too can climb out of the things that take us away from the confidence within us. We too can overcome any challenge that we are faced with, whether we are missing arms and legs or hearing or sight or speech or whatever we think we need for the next step. We know that we are confident in our every ability to overcome any challenge. So put your fist in the air, affirm with me, I am confident in my ability to overcome any challenge. One more time. And get those fists loud. Fight off that inability. Fight off that disability. I am confident in my ability to overcome any challenge. Friends, I want you to remember not to become too accustomed to life routines that you forget that you can learn. Right? We all have the capacity to learn. But we get so caught up in life routines that we forget also that we have learned routines and patterns, sometimes without being aware of it. I think this week, two things made me think of that this week. The first thing is that my Apple Watch stopped working. Now, I haven't worn a watch since I was 9 years old. When someone took, because you know, again, the Scorpio in me wants to be a rebel. And I got a watch for Christmas. And I remember putting it on my right wrist. And my mother's friend telling me that she asked me, are you right-handed or left-handed? I said, I'm right-handed. She said, well, you can't put your watch on your right wrist because you're right-handed. You have to put it on your left wrist. And I'm like, I'm not conforming to that. And so I'm not wearing a watch, period. And then cell phones came in, and so you didn't need a watch. You had it on your cell phone. But, so I haven't worn a watch in, 30 years. This week, my watch was doing something funky. I don't even know what it was. It wasn't charging. Usually it takes about less than an hour to charge. I had it on for half a day and it still wasn't charging, and I missed it. Every time I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, when did I become this person to look at my wrist to see the time, you know? But unconsciously, it became a part of my life. Another experience I had this week. I have a backup cam on my car, and I've had a backup cam on my car for, I would say, about 5 years, right? And in my mind, I'm like, I don't use the backup cam, right? I'm old school. I'm going to reach my hand out and turn my body all the way around to back up, you know, back out of the driveway or back out of a parking space. I don't need no backup cam. I don't use it. Well, a friend of mine asked me to move his car, and I had to back up. And his car did not have a backup cam. And when I tell you every 5th second I'm looking down at the dashboard for the backup cam, I forgot how to reach my hand back and turn my body around to back up. I became accustomed to something without even knowing it. And then when I had to do without it, I realized how much I depended on it. And it made me realize that we do this with life. We become so accustomed to a routine, to a pattern, that we may not even be aware It's happening in our life. And then the next thing you know, it becomes our life. It becomes our experience. It becomes our faith. It becomes our belief. So we really have to, when we talk about being confident in every ability, we need to start stripping away our mind, our consciousness, getting to a realization of what are the things in our life that we're experiencing. What are the things that we're believing? What are the things that have become ingrained in our consciousness that we may not even realize is changing our perspective, changing our point of view, changing our way of life, changing who we are? Friends, we got to get still. We have to get still and realize what is going on in our world, but also confident that we can not only learn new things, but sustain them in our mind. We can learn new things that will bring into our life something wonderful and beneficial. So let's affirm this affirmation. I am confident in my ability to learn new things. So if you're in a position right now where you have to learn a new language, new people at your job, new ways of doing things, be confident in your ability to learn new things. Again, affirm, I am confident in my ability to learn new things. Friends, last week, the last point that we worked with was about getting therapy. And this is something that we will talk about, of course, sporadically throughout our time together, because I believe it is important. You know, some people always, the first thing that you hear from people is, oh, talking out my problems with someone is not going to help. You know, talking about it is not going to help. And I assure you, if you believe this, you're wrong. You are absolutely wrong. Talking about it will help you get through it, but we have to release the stigma of therapy. More importantly, we have to release the stigma of self-care. We have to deal with what we are grappling with. I heard this word this week and I was like, wow, you know, grappling. Webster, of course, you know, I love to define a word. Webster defines grappling as coming to grips with, wrestling. So many of us are wrestling with life, wrestling with finances, wrestling with health and healing throughout our body, wrestling with confusion, grappling with relationships, grappling with confusion. You know, it's kind of like we're clawing at a mountain, right? We're at the edge of a mountain, trying not to fall over and die, so we're scratching and clawing at life. When people say, you know, one of my favorite comebacks or responses, and when you say, oh, hey, how you doing? And people say, oh, I'm hanging in there. Friends, stop hanging in and get in. Stop grappling with your experiences and get within yourself. Actively engage in your healing and actively engage in your health. And for me, that's turning within. Turning within to the God. Last week we talked about being the candle in the middle of the room. You are the light in the middle of your life. You have to turn within to that inner God, that inner light that will get you through. So you got to get still. And as you get still, hold on. This is one thing that therapy taught me too, which is why we're going to start doing like meditations online and things like that. So people get an understanding or at least a guide as far as how to meditate and get still within themselves. Because one breakthrough that I had in therapy years ago at this point was that because I'm an only child, I learned how to be by myself. I learned how to enjoy my own company. And that's not easy for everyone else to do because, I mean, listen, I don't blame my parents for that. To be honest, I was a pretty annoying child sometimes. You know, I was always talking. I was always talking. I was always doing something. And I can imagine my parents were like, kid, go do something. Just get out of my face. And not in a bad way, but they needed to be alone too, right? I couldn't always be in their face. We all need that alone time. And because I always had that alone time, I'm the only child, right? It gave me kind of a mindset on how to get still within myself, how to get quiet, turn within. So many people can't do this. So many people grew up with brothers and sisters, parents or family members, so they were never alone. The only time they were alone probably is when they were in the bathroom, and even that's up in the air, right? For anyone that's raised in a big house, the bathroom is not a quiet space, right? People are still, unless you lock the door, and even then, people are still coming in and out. So I had to learn that not everyone learns or feels comfortable with getting still within themselves. But again, it's something that we have to work on, right? It's something that you have to be aware of and continue to work on. Not every time you should be around people. As much as you love them, you have to find time to be by yourself, to be yourself, to get still in who you are. And that's where you find your stride. That's where you find your strength. The strength comes from within. No matter how many jobs you have, how many positions you have, how many things you can do, power comes from within. Strength comes from within. So put your fist in the air and say with me, I am confident. I am confident that I will find my strength within me. I am confident that I will find my strength within me. Today I'm talking to our caretakers. You have the strength. That's why you are a caretaker. And some people went to school to be a caretaker. Some people didn't. Some people have ended up with children with special needs. Some people have ended up with parents that have, or, older adults in their life that they care for that have dementia and Alzheimer's. That can be a difficult thing. Again, going back to the people who have kids with special needs, people who have kids that are on the spectrum of autism. Even now, for the last 2 years, 3 years now, we're going on 3 years. Could you imagine? We have been dealing with COVID, and we had to deal with the death of our loved ones, right? The isolation from our loved ones, the distant, no contact, people are still dealing with this, with the new variants and things like that. All of these things can stress us out. But for anyone out there that is going through these situations now, I'm here to remind you, you got this. You got this. The universe only gives its most daring and dangerous battles to its strongest soldiers. And because you are here at this experience, because the universe has placed this in your life, it means that you can overcome. It means that you got this. Friends, remember, your problem is not the problem. Your reaction is the problem. Your problem is not the problem. Your reaction is the problem. Your perception is the problem. I think about these new paint and sip parties, right? Where you go, everyone gets an easel, canvas and paintbrushes and paint, and you follow either a video or, someone's directing you. And everyone is painting the same thing, but everyone's painting comes out different. We all have a different perception of life. We all have different point of views in our life. That's why all of our paintings come out differently. So it means then that we should never be mad at our indecision, right? We should never be mad at the fear that sometimes comes up with us, because the experience of faith and fear can both exist and be true at the same time. But let faith win out. Let your confidence in yourself win every time. Again, get still and face it. Fist in the air, affirm with me. I am confident that I can face it. Whatever it is. Whatever it is, whatever situation, whatever experience, whatever perception, whatever people, whatever job, whatever challenge, I am confident that I can face it. One more time. I am confident that I can face it. And the last point I want to leave with you today is to do something creative. Do something creative in your world, right? Write a poem. Write a story. Write a play. It may not be the next Hollywood blockbuster. Well, I'm sorry if I just caused problems with the mic. I'm sorry. It may not be the next Hollywood blockbuster, but do something creative. Draw something, paint something, right? Make a poster. Do something and find something creative to do. Here's what happens. First of all, I need you to know that unused creativity can become rage. Unused creativity can become rage because we all need a creative outlet. And if we don't have a creative outlet within the arts, it shows up in our lives. It shows up in our marriages, in our relationships, in our experiences with our parents and children, right? There is something within us that needs to be released. And so sometimes rage can be released because there is no healthy outlet to release what is going on within us. Now, when we do something creative, it releases stress, reduces stress. It improves our problem-solving skills. It helps us better communicate with people, better express what is on the inside of us. And in this way, we also discover new interests that we may not have even thought that we would ever be interested in. It encourages new ways of thinking, new ways of analyzing. It literally creates new neural pathways in our brain. And along with being creative, don't forget to play. Yeah, I said it. Not like you're a 5-year-old. Maybe you are a 5-year-old, right? Not like that, but yeah, actually like that. Go to the beach when the weather is warm. Do some cartwheels. Do something fun. The definition of play, or the layman's term definition of play, is doing something where you really don't have to think. You're just enjoying life. And that could be going out with friends and family. It doesn't even have to be adventurous, but just something where you're not constantly trying to analyze and to reason. You're just being. You're just having fun, putting a smile on your face, not hurting anyone in your life, but putting a smile on your face. Friends, not every text message needs to be answered. Not every call needs to be answered. Not every email needs to be answered right away. Of course, if you have responsibilities, handle your responsibilities, but it doesn't have to be right away. Not when you're doing something creative, not when you're in that state of play. So it means then, not when you're on vacation. I see people on the beach answering calls from their boss. Stop it right here and right now. Set aside time to be by yourself. And as you do this, you create something great and wonderful. Fists in the air, and let's do this last affirmation together. I am creative. I am confident. I have amazing and sustaining ability. I have amazing and sustaining ability. Friends, I thank you for visiting us today here at blackdiamondworldwide.org. I want to remind you to visit us on Facebook and Instagram. Remember to like, comment, and share so we can get those algorithms going so more people can see it. And as you join us on Facebook and Instagram, you will receive, or we will post, inspirational quotes and affirmations throughout the week just to keep ourselves encouraged as we go through the week. Must be here for one another. And as we do this, as we encourage one another, we know that we will be confident in our every ability. I love you. Be blessed.